Good morning, Tara parents. Welcome again to our parent meeting. We're nearing the close of school, and today, what we're going to focus on is retention. That is, are your children on track for graduation? This is the information that will be given to you today. We have a panel of our entire counseling department, along with a guest from the state of Louisiana Office of Ed Trust, and he happens to serve as the director. We have Mr. Howard with us, who's going to give you a component of dual enrollment. But all of our other guests, Mr. Spurlock, who's going to be with us from LASFA, is going to offer another component. But your counselors for your children are prepared all year long, making certain. But we need to make sure that you the parent, know if your child is on track for graduation. And on behalf of Mr. Heyman, who happens to be with the superintendent at this time, I offer a hearty welcome. He's doing everything at the school that is possibly in his realm to ensuring that your child is well educated, your child is enjoying the teenage life, your child is safe, and we are practicing safe measures still by utilizing our masks, our sanitizers, and disinfectants. We are still doing that to make sure that our kids are safe here. Again, it's my pleasure to introduce our Miss Joseph from the counseling department, who is going to guide this through this morning, giving you all the aspects and the various counselors who's going to tell you the different components for keeping your child on track for graduation.
Hello, good morning. Hi, my name is Ms. Sharon Joseph, one of the counselors here at Terra High School. And today I'm going to tell you exactly what we're going to be doing and to make sure that your child is on track to graduate. So we have Ms. Trustclair will be one of our speakers. Mr. Jacob Cunningham, he will talk about the Jumpstart pathways, and Ms. Elson will talk about the IGPs and making sure that they are signed. And then we'll have our other guests to add some more if needed. So again, please pay attention and make sure, so you can make sure that your child is on track to graduate. Ms. Trustclair.
Good morning. Welcome, parents. Today we have a speaker with us that will talk about dual enrollment. Mr. Terrell Howard. He's a native of Baton Rouge. He's an educator, a community activist, and a deep believer in the urgent need to advance equality for the children in the East Baton Rouge Parish community. He was elected to the school board in 2018, becoming the youngest member of the school board, and he was also installed as the vice president of the board. As vice president, he's championed for disadvantaged children and led in the creation and the adaptation of EBR First Charter Accountability Policy. He's well-rounded, well-knowledgeable. Mr. Howard is currently a Louisiana State Director for Educational Trust, a national nonprofit organization that works to close the gap that affects children of color, students in with low-income families. So we're glad to have him today. He goes around the state and advocates for our students. He's doing a great job. He's very familiar with dual enrollment, which is where we will be going next year statewide and here at Terra High School. Thank you, Mr. Howard, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Hello, excuse me, I'm Mr. Cunningham and I'm one of the counselors here. I want to talk briefly about the differences between our Jumpstart pathways and the TOPS University pathways. Overall, with Jumpstart pathways, students are required to have at least a minimum of 23 credits, but those 23 credits have to be within certain areas. those credits are going to be in the Jumpstart pathway. With the TOPS University, a student is required to have at least 24 credits. And again, those credits, there's 4 Englishes, 4 math, 4 science, and 4 social studies. With Jumpstart, students have an option of what math classes they can take. For example, they can take math essentials, Algebra 1, financial literacy, and business math. For English, they have technical writing, English 1, English 2, and then business English. For Jumpstart, a student is only required to have 2 science classes. One of those classes has to be biology, and then the other one can be either physical science or environmental science. And then for social studies, they have to have civics and U.S. history. So the biggest difference between Jumpstart and TOPS University is the required core classes. And again, those core classes come from English, math, science, and social studies. With the Jumpstart pathways, there are 9 electives that students are required to take, such as the Intro to Business Computer Applications, the Quest for Success class, which is a basic career awareness class, and just various things. Our JRTC 3 and 4 classes also count as electives. So if you are interested in finding out more about whether it's in your student's best interest to change from TOPS University to Jumpstart, just get in touch with your student's counselor and we'll be glad to talk to you. And there's a form that you have to fill out that only takes about 5 minutes, and we can explain all the options to you and what would be best for your student.
Thank you, Mr. Cunningham. Ms. Elson, getting the IGPs signed.
Okay. Good morning. The IGP is the individual graduation plan, and it is just that. It's a plan that we use to ensure that your student meets all graduation requirements. It is a list of courses and assessments that your student will take as a high school student. It asks that you be involved in that process. Each year we review it. We may have to make changes depending on the child's performance the previous year, and we send that home. We ask that you would sign it and send it back. We would love to have you come in and discuss it with us. However, if that's not possible, then we can send it home, but it's very important that we have that record and that you be a part of that process, planning for your child. So please sign it and send it back to us, and we'll send it back to you each year. Thank you.
Very good. Mr. Howard?
Yes,
Are you
ma'am.
ready to
I am.
enlighten us on dual enrollment? The question that everybody is asking them, that's the buzzword for EBR,
Yes.
dual enrollment.
So thank you guys for having me. Dual enrollment is definitely the buzzword, and I would love for this to be more of a conversation than just you guys listening to me. So if you have questions, feel free to stop me throughout. But really, I think before the buzz or dual enrollment became a buzzword in EBR, I think it's important to know where the state as a collective whole was going. So before Superintendent Narcisse was coming to Baton Rouge, before there was all of this talks about what pathways to brighter futures look like, Governor John Bel Edwards instituted what he believed his vision for the state of Louisiana and education in Louisiana was. And he believed that every student should graduate from high school in Louisiana with at least 2 credential areas in something, in addition to a high school diploma. The reality is that the state legislators were like, wait, we need to put a pause on this. So for the past 2 years, there has been a dual enrollment task force that has been in place in the state of Louisiana. And what this dual enrollment task force has been tasked with is to figure out, A, what is the current state of dual enrollment throughout the state of Louisiana, and what can districts and school districts do to ensure that pathways are incentivized for students to gain access to dual enrollment. Throughout this research, what they found was that there was an underrepresentation of specifically Black students in dual enrollment. So while people are like in a rage about like, why we gotta do this, why we doing this, the reality is there have been a certain sector of people who have been benefiting from dual enrollment for a very long time. And so now what I believe to be true about what the district is doing is looking for a way to increase access and eliminate barriers to access for dual enrollment. So one of the most interesting parts of this work that I found was at the Education Trust, we did a HBCU in dual enrollment webinar. And basically what we were trying to figure out is how can our historically black colleges and universities play a deeper role in dual enrollment. And what we found in this research was very sobering. Many of the requirements at one point in time was that students, in order to have academic dual enrollment, had to have like some obscure like 21 on the ACT. The average ACT score for a black student in Louisiana at the time was around 16 to 17. So at the very systemic level, like you were excluding black students from having access to higher education or advanced coursework. And so we talked to students, to parents, we surveyed students over the state of Louisiana, over 3,000 students. And one of the things that we found is that there was an information gap. And so people just didn't have enough information around dual enrollment. So we helped the Board of Regents and we created this dual enrollment portal that just went live a couple weeks ago. So if you go to www.dualenrollment.com, you can see a portal of universal information surrounding dual enrollment. And so what I really hope parents understand is as we take this shift into a new direction, specifically in Baton Rouge starting next year, is that there are actually a lot of advantages of us giving access to dual enrollment from a high school level. I've been having conversations throughout the state, and what I found to be really troublesome is that we're graduating a lot of kids to nothing. Meaning that kids are graduating from high school with absolutely no plan, no access, and have no clue of what's next for them. So as someone who came from a single parent home, teenage mom, like I understand the importance of having exposure early on. Even if you get a skill in high school that you don't use, after you finish, you still have like that skill to fall back on. For example, I went to law school. I'm not currently practicing law, but I've been able to use the skills that I learned in law school to do the work that I currently do. And at any moment I decide I want to move or do something, I can go take the bar and practice law any day. And so it's important to expose kids to skills. It's important to like make sure that we're eliminating barriers and providing access, especially for our underrepresented population, specifically through dual enrollment. So I just wanted to give a brief background of some information that came out through a report we did called the State of Higher Education. According to the Georgetown University Center of Education, 56% of Louisiana jobs will require education beyond high school. But as of 2019, only 31% of Louisiana's population, 25 years and higher, had a post-secondary credential. Nearly 25% point deficit from across the nation. In fact, Louisiana has the lowest degree attainment rate for African American adults, meaning only 21% of African Americans in this state have some kind of higher education compared to the other 41 states throughout our portfolio. And then what this is really saying is that like we have a lot of people in our state, specifically African Americans, who don't have the skills necessary to get the jobs that are available. And so I do believe that providing access early on will give our students an opportunity. I mean, there's just some facts about dual enrollment. If you take dual enrollment, you have an opportunity to graduate college earlier. If you take dual enrollment, you have an actual opportunity to spend less money on college, so that means less debt. There's a real black debt crisis right now as it relates to student loan and student loan default. And so to me, there's more pros to providing access to dual enrollment early on than there are cons. And we know that anytime you make a drastic shift in education, that you're gonna have growing pains. But my message to the state and to people in Baton Rouge right now is don't let perfect get in the way of good. We have an opportunity to provide access to students to really put them on a pathway to something as opposed to just graduating kids to nothing. So really look forward to figuring out how we do this work and how we do this work together.
Thank you so much, Mr. Howard. And parents, you know, all you have to do is contact us. Let us know what it is that you don't understand, what your concerns are. Your counselors are available. I think you all take appointments. You want them to call. Parents, you're more than welcome to call the school, get an appointment with the counselor, and make certain that you understand what those components are for dual enrollments, as well as I say, we're closing up. May will be here before we know it. We want to make certain from freshmen through 12th grade that they are on track. And we can't do it unless you are a part of it, to make certain that they understand. Once you, as the parent, has enforced and said, look, I understand you need to have this science. You're not gonna tell me you can't, you don't wanna do it. You're gonna do what is in accordance for the law as far as you getting a high school diploma. And all of the programs that are accessible in the state of Louisiana, that's mandated here for your children. All we need, parents, are you to make certain that you let them know that your foot is down and they will be graduating. And with that, LASFA, as I always say, makes it very easy for all the schools that are part of LASFA, because they set the tone and the pace of what they believe, and they know and have researched what parents need to know. And I'm more than happy that we have Ms. Mitchell and Mr. Spurlock, who is in this school religiously, saying, oh, we're gonna do this, we have ACT prep, so we have this prepared, and this is all for your benefit. So what we wanna do right now is invite Mr. Spurlock, who will give us some insight from the LASFA standpoint. Mr. Spurlock.
Thank you, Ms. Ware. Good morning, parents. Again, my name is Darius Spurlock. I work with the Louisiana Office of Student Financial Assistance, and my colleague, Mrs. Ebony Mitchell, is here with me. But I'll be kind of like doing the presentation on behalf of us today. We are the state hub for financial assistance. When students consider, their post-secondary education funding, one of the resources that we're going to talk about today is the LASFA Student Hub account, and I'm gonna go ahead and proceed with the slide. Can you see the slide? Okay, so the first thing is, some parents may not be aware of this, some students may not be aware of this, but we have this portal where students and parents can go in and track students and their progress towards their TOPS award, whether they're on the Jumpstart pathway or if they're on the TOPS University pathway. And within this, the students get a chance and the parents get a chance to see what we have in the system as far as their grades, their TOPS GPA versus their cumulative GPA, if they have taken the ACT or SAT, what scores we have in the system for them. And beyond that, when the students go to college, we can also track their college courses, their college GPA, just to make sure that they are able to keep the scholarship in college. Because TOPS is a Louisiana based scholarship, our state legislature determines if it will be fully funded or partially funded. In the event that it is partially funded, students can use this platform to go in there and opt out of school for that particular year of a shortfall with the funding. And then they can also see the award and see how much the award is going to the institution that they choose. So I'm going to proceed and kind of like go through how to create a Student Hub account. So the absolute first thing is to visit www.mylasfa.la.gov. Then students or parents will hover over the Student Hub. Scroll down to the center of the page. So to get to the actual instructions, the video kind of like showed you how to, do it online. The instructions, Ms. Ware has lots of resources in the parent center, in the parent room. The instructions for the Student Hub account will also be in here. But for students and parents, just follow the information that was from the video. The only thing that I need to make mention of, with the student, there are two ways that they can register. One is the Louisiana Secure ID, and the other one is the Loss for ID. Students necessarily will not receive the Loss for ID until after they graduate from high school. Their Louisiana Secure ID can be found on J Campus if they pull their transcript. It is under there as SAS ID. We kind of like worked on this a couple of days with some students to register. So if you pull up the J Campus account, and on there it's a 10-digit code, and I believe this code is SAS ID. They can use that to register for the account. And once they register for the account and get in, they'll log in and they'll see a TOPS tracker. Once they click on TOPS tracker, they'll be able to see everything that we have on file for them, from their grades, their ACT scores, and any other information we may have gathered from them. So just to mention, there are some reasons why students cannot create a Student Hub account. And one of the primary reasons is because we do not have a consent form on file from the parent, or the parent have denied consent. If that is the case, the parents can contact the school to make sure that there's a consent form on file for the student. Without that consent form, the student cannot be processed for TOPS. The student will not be able to receive TOPS because, we don't have consent to pull their information to be considered for the award. And here's just some general information about the TOPS award. At the top of the page, there's some instructions about how to register for the Student Hub account, some initial eligibility requirements, and then the GPA and ACT requirements for TOPS awards. And then finally, our contact information. That concludes my presentation.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Spurlock. Parents, another thing, once you come to school, this room has been created for parents. We have the resources here in the Parent Center for all of the federal information needed. Our counselors also can be generated once you come to the Parent Center and whatever question. It may be something that they can answer for you on spot. So don't feel like we have to call you to come to school to see something for your kid. This room has been created for you. I don't know if all of you have access to technology at home, but we have the computers here that you can utilize, not just for the student, but for your personal, if you need to look for job employment. We have resources here with in the community that we've made partners with, the Baton Rouge City, and the jobs and whatever throughout Baton Rouge. Don't feel that I just have to come to school because my kid did this or did that. Come and be engaging. Know that it's here for you. We're here to serve you. And we do have another thing. We're blessed to have our on-site school coordinator for LASFA, who's here every day. Ms. Hollins does a multiple of things, but one thing particular, she is our technology guru. So she's going to give you some insight on how you are to make certain after this show, after you watch this, to scan the QR code. Ms. Hollins, please.
Good morning. Just posted to our Facebook, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and it should come to you also on the school app. The QR code to scan to fill out the survey to say you attended this meeting. As soon as the meeting ends, I also include the link to our YouTube channel where you can both have the video and the code to say that you have attended. If you have any questions, you can also put those on the form and I will get back to you, or Ms. Ware will get back to you as soon as possible.
Thank you, ma'am. And finally, I want to bring something else to your attention, parents. I don't know if you're familiar with Superintendent Narcisse's Parent University. All right, he has 4
Pardon
meetings.
interruption. Krishan Hunt, please report back to the front office. Krishan Hunt, please report back to the front office.
The superintendent has scheduled 4 meetings for the rest of the school year. And those meetings are, first topic is going to be a community resource for parents and families. This is going to be on February the 24th at 6 p.m. in the IRC building. That's next to the school board office. So if you're available, please attend. But I also understand we will also have a link for you to register. What I will do is ask Ms. Hollins to put that link into the Terra newsletter, and that you will be able to see and access that if you're unable. But I'm sure he would appreciate parents coming to the meeting, and as well as those who are unable, that they could use the link and watch it, okay? But let's stay focused on that. Let's give him the support we need, for helping the teachers as well as our students get through these next 4 years for your children from 9th grade to 12th grade. And it is again my pleasure to serve, my pleasure to engage with your children, my pleasure to give the love that I have for each of these children here. So please understand that you, parents, are the focal point of our school. And we've just been graced with our assistant principal, Mr. Rawls, who will give the closing remarks.
I want to thank you all for joining here today at Terra High School. I hope you received all of the new information, current information. We have some exciting things coming, rolling down the pipeline for next year, but I promise you, you're going to see a brand new Terra High School where all kids will graduate no matter what pathway that they choose. Thank you guys for joining in. Please come by the school and take a visit.
Yes.
Meet some of the amazing teachers, the students, the administration, coaches, custodial staff, the cafeteria members, everybody. It's a big family here. Please come and see us. The door is always open.
Thank you, Mr. Rawls. And parents, a heartfelt thank you to you for tuning in and make certain that you do the QR code so we can have the proper documentations to show that we do have parents that are engaged at Terra High School. Have a good day and God bless. Thank you.
Y'all did great.
You think we did?
Mm-hmm.
Howard, you stayed the whole way.
Y'all got dirty.
Oh, we have to.
We have to.
That's all I said, that.
Thank you for reminding us.
No problem, that's my job. I'm all about
Thank you.
No problem. Have a great one. Yes, ma'am.
I don't want y'all getting in trouble.
Okay, thank you, we appreciate you, thank you.